where there's been so much misinformation. So you need to know the truth. Active misinformation, even after it's been fact checked, including about declassification. Because while the goalposts have moved many times this week with regards to Donald Trump, that there's nothing there, or if there is, it was planted, or if there was, maybe it wasn't planted, but it's probably not serious, or if it was serious, don't worry about it, because he can do whatever he wants, he can declassify it. Not so fast there. So some have been arguing that he could declassify any of those documents, so there's no case here. But for information to be legally declassified, there must be written documentation that the declassification process was followed. And if that sounds bad, that's just the first layer of how inaccurate their claim has been, because that's for the sort of declassification that the president can do under normal circumstances. He can't just wave a wand over the paper. It's a written process. But did you know that there are many documents that the president can't declassify even under that process? So documents pertaining to intelligence sources or nuclear weapons that are classified under US statutes, that's how they're classified, not the executive order that governs most classified information in the US, which bears on the president's power. They're separate tracks. And so he could not declassify these things even if he followed the normal process, which he very much did not. And so bear that in mind as you continue to hear all day from Fox News that this is a nothing burger because he can just declassify it. Even if he could, they'd never accept a Democrat doing that, obviously, but he also can't. I also just want to throw out one more thing for you guys to respond to. There were documents that were taken by the FBI related to the pardoning of Roger Stone. Amongst all of this stuff, I just find that so fascinating that he kept stuff about national security, nuclear stuff, Roger Stone, and a little bit about President Macron, oddly enough.
You never know.
If I was President Macron, I'd be worried about that file.
Yeah.
Okay, so first let's go through the lies. This is my favorite part. First they said, there's nothing to find there. This is a ridiculous witch hunt. Nothing to find. Then they said, the FBI planted it.
Yeah.
Wait,
if there is something, it's a plan.
Yeah, I thought there was nothing to hide. Okay, well, all right, we're moving on to lie number 2. The FBI planted it. Now today, Donald Trump blows a hole through that because he's like, let me tell you something, okay? There are documents, there was something to find, and I said earlier that the FBI planted it, but you know what? I secretly declassified it. Wait, did you declassify the documents they planted? He said both things. No, guys, right wingers, I know you're extraordinarily unintelligent, but you have to find a lie and stick with it, okay? Now, I know you guys don't care. You could say at the same time January 6th was Antifa and the greatest patriots in the world who are political prisoners or should be released, and tourists. All to say, I know that you are able to keep all these thoughts in your head at the same time. It's kind of a gift, okay? The rest of us are burdened with having to deal with truth. Okay, so, but in this case, just as a helpful hint, you might want to stick with just one lie. Okay, I know it's never gonna happen. Why? Because their dear leader is an idiot. If I was facing the Espionage Act, I wouldn't just go out on True Social and be like, oh, you know what, I think they planted it. Oh yeah, you don't know, they do exist. And I had them, and I secretly declassified them. Oh God damn it, you need paperwork? I didn't know you needed paperwork. We're back to they planted it. Okay. I mean, and this is the guy they think is their leader.
Genius.
Genius. And guys, I said a long time ago, and I got this, kind of wrong, or you could say completely wrong because I paid the bet off. But I said at some point that Trump, while being president, was just going to run away, right? And it was crazy, and it didn't happen. It said, but why did I say that? Because he is so monumentally crooked and so monumentally incompetent that I thought he's just gonna bungle this all over himself. And all the Democrats had to do was just nudge him 1 inch and he'd fall and he'd take his ball and run home, right? Well, it turns out he took the nuclear football and ran home, okay, but under different circumstances. But the fact that the Democrats couldn't put this guy away is unbelievable. Look at how stupid he is, which leads us to the second really important point. Guys, if you're a right winger, just be honest with yourself for 1 second. Why the hell would anybody take information about nuclear weapons home with them? Why? That is the most top secret information, and it must be kept in a certain building so that, by the way, Mar-a-Lago probably filled to the rim with spies, can't just walk into a room and take it. Even if you thought Trump something is like, oh, he's the purest, most angelic guy you've ever met. Jesus Christ, if you believe that, and that's 40% of the country. Anyway,
they do.
But he's not supposed to just keep it in the freaking basement when anybody can walk in.
Yep.
Why? Just think for a second. Why the hell would he do that? I always say shoe on the other foot. If it was Bernie Sanders, he became president after the presidency, he takes home the nuclear codes or whichever nuclear information that Trump took that is the most top secret classified. I would say, that's super weird. I wonder why Bernie took the nuclear codes home. I would wonder because I have a brain, okay? But you guys, you don't wonder. You're like, oh yeah, you meant well. You meant well. You take the nuclear codes home so you can play around with them. No, there's only one reason you take them, to sell them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leverage. And now we have to add like a couple $signs and like an underscore to the end of the codes. It's just so annoying to have to reset those. You'd think they'd reset them after every president, but they don't actually. So now it's just it's such a to-do. I just want to name that, like, the dark Merrick Garland memes are precisely funny because this is like the least dark dude ever. Like this is the least, like, I'm trying to go after someone because of my political leanings or their political, like, no. These guys are centrist through and through. They would not do something like this. And granted, I don't think progressives would do something like this just to score political points. No, you don't do something like this unless there is a serious security breach. Now, Merrick Garland must have gamed this out or not gamed this out, because I don't know if he meant to make us wait a bunch of time, like 40 minutes for his press conference and then speak for 2 minutes and then they were gonna release what it really was. But you gotta imagine that they knew they were gonna stir up a lot of trouble, a lot of violence, and that they were preparing for this. But also that, yes, while he knew that the Biden administration was insulated from knowing when this raid was going to happen. I think that needed to have been made clearer a little bit.
Sure.
So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think he's gonna do something for political purposes, but I do think maybe he could have quelled some of this misinformation, potentially gotten out ahead of it.
No, I actually don't agree with that, Francis. There's no way in the world you could quell misinformation from the right wing. I mean, it's a tidal wave. So Trump also said today, well, what about the 33 million documents that Obama took that also had nuclear information? By the way, accidentally admitting he took documents with nuclear information. Oops, he's so stupid. He's the dumbest person I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not exaggerating. Okay, Obama took nuclear stuff too. Oh, did I just admit it? God damn it. God, how could you look up to a guy like that? Anyway, so of course, then the government has to come out and say, no, President Obama never took home any documents, let alone nuclear codes. No, it's just not remotely true. How are you supposed to tie that misinformation? I couldn't even guess.
I don't even know
that he
where
would
it's
have
from.
made that up.
Yeah.
It's not from anything.
No, but I think it's just, how many emails did Hillary have? 33,000, right?
Yeah.
33 million of these. It's just a bigger version of that.
He just made it up.
No, but seriously, think about a book that's 500 pages long. 33 million pages? What does he have, an aircraft hangar that he's got it in? Do you have any idea how big that would be? It's madness.
It would be a massive dump. Okay.
Meanwhile, Ivana's grave this big, but like
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So look, there's a little bit more on this that I want to make sure that we get to really fast. I just want to give credit to John Fetterman because he's just a light every day. We don't know that it was the nuclear codes. And by the way, let's just be clear, there were no references specifically to stuff that was seized being about anything nuclear. Now, to be fair, it was super vague. It was not about any of what it was about. So it might have been about nuclear stuff, but I did appreciate his tweet saying, the only code you're allowed to steal is up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. Which, for the gamers, is delightful. But anyway, so we don't know exactly what he had. There's no good reason to have it. Whether it's just for bragging or whatever, that's not good enough. Let alone all the stuff with Jared Kushner and the lawyers working for the Saudis and the probe back in the early days of the Trump administration where he was trying to expedite the process of transferring nuclear technology to the Saudis at that point. The whole thing absolutely reeks.
I mean, can I just say, T.Y. Meskis broke the story, Ken Klippenstein, when he was here, about how they were trying to transfer nuclear technology to the Saudis. And now Trump has nuclear technology in his basement, which he has no business having, wildly, awfully illegal. And let's note for the record, Jared Kushner just got $2 billion from the Saudis.
And by the way, like, it is suspicious enough for Trump to take anything. But considering Trump, the guy who, to get him to read CIA daily briefings, like the most dramatic, action-packed stuff in the world. It had to be bullet points with his name in it and pictures of puppies. For him to steal basically books, how corrupt does it have to be? That dude doesn't want to read. He's not gonna be like in his waning years going down and flipping through, oh, those were the days.
Oh, remember the nuclear codes from yesteryear.
Up, down, down, left, right, left, right. We all saw this coming. Come on, who among us, when Trump was elected, would be like, nah, everything's safe. State secrets, everything's safe. Documents, everything's super safe. Of course, we saw this coming.
Yeah.
Of course, he's gonna do the tackiest, the thing you are not supposed to do. He's gonna do it.
Yeah, because he has no moral bounds. People keep projecting their decency onto him. Like, yeah, and their intelligence onto him. Yeah, but who would be stupid enough to think that they could sell top secret information about our nukes to a foreign country and not get caught? Ding, ding, ding. Correct answer, Donald Trump.
Right.
Of course he's that stupid. And of course he's that corrupt. Get it through your head, he's not anything like you. Has no morals, no empathy, and no intelligence. That's what I've been saying this entire time as people talk about, what do you think his strategy is? His strategy was to hide nuclear codes in the goddamn basement.
Yeah, use them as leverage.
So dumb. You know, to your point about Merrick Garland, Francesca. So Merrick Garland, the dark Merrick Garland, are you kidding? The guy's a mouse, we can see him. Like, you see it with your own eyes, right? And they're like, no, he's like Mike Tyson. It's like, he's softer than a pillow.
No.
So I guarantee you this was a conversation they had at the Justice Department. There's no way we're charging this guy. We're so afraid of what the consequences, and they're gonna say we're politicizing, there's gonna be violence, they're gonna try to kill some FBI agents. No way we're charging. He took the nuclear codes. Are you serious? That's the only thing.
I think it was more just like, should we raid? Yeah, we should raid. All right.
Again, it's information about nukes. They have not been clear that it's the codes or not.
We don't know what it is.
Yeah. But there is no answer for the right wing when you ask him why he might have taken it. And right now, the last things they're on is Trump said, well, I could have just asked. Dude, they asked, and then they came by and you gave them boxes that didn't have the nuclear information. And they're like, I can't believe he didn't give it to us. Now you're forcing us to raid you, you moron. We're not gonna just let you sell it, you idiot, right? And so did you have to ask? How could anybody believe this guy? Jesus, right wing. I know a lot of the establishment is crooked. Wow, you figured that out, okay? That doesn't mean you have to follow a madman. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.